You're watching The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ MD Angela Yee, Charlamagne the God. We are the Breakfast Club. We have some special guests joining us this morning.
Absolutely, man. We was on the phone with this guy, but I'm glad that we got to sit down with him and actually have a face-to-face.
Absolutely.
Senator Bernie Sanders.
Yes, and we have a rapper and friend to the room, Killer Mike.
Yeah.
Mike's like his number one shooter, basically.
Number one goon.
Absolutely.
Hey, you got a lot of Secret Service guys around there. Don't say that.
I don't think we got a lot of time, so let's get to it. Well, why do you think Hillary is connecting more with African Americans than you are right now?
Well, she campaigned here in 2008, so she has a lot of presence. Her husband campaigned for president twice. We came into this state with virtually no support at all. We started off at 9%. We have grown a whole lot, I should tell you, in the last few months. Our message, they got a corrupt campaign finance system, which big billionaires and big money are buying elections. You got a rigged economy where most people are working longer hours for low wages and all kinds of incomes going to the 1%. That is catching up. But we started way behind here in South Carolina.
Let's talk about undocumented immigrants in this country. What do you think should happen with that? Now, we've heard the very popular Donald Trump saying that he wants to build a wall. What would you say?
I think what Donald Trump is saying is outrageous, and it's the old-fashioned scapegoating. What he wants to do is throw 11 million people who are in this country, who came to this country to try to get a little bit of a better life, take care of their kids, out of this country. That is outrageous. That is bigotry in my mind. And we got to stop that. In my view, we need comprehensive immigration reform. We need a path towards citizenship, and that's what I strongly support.
I think with a lot of African Americans, they really believe that Barack Obama would stand with us more when it came to Ferguson and it came to the riots. They felt like he wasn't there. They felt like he was the president and he wasn't there. Are you going to stand with African American people?
I'm going to stand with African American people against racism, against a broken criminal justice system, which has more people in jail than any other country, where so many lives are being ruined. To give you one example, it turns out that the white community and the black community do marijuana at about equal levels. 4 times as many blacks get arrested as whites. You explain that to me. And that's why I want to take marijuana out of the Federal Controlled Substance Act. I don't want it to be a federal crime because so many lives are being destroyed and people have police records. But meanwhile, if you are on Wall Street, and this is an important point, if you're one of the most powerful people in this country, and you're an executive, and your illegal behavior and actions help destroy the economy, throw millions of people out of work, lose their homes, lose their jobs, how many of you get police records? How many of those guys get police records? And the answer is 0. That's called a broken criminal justice system.
94, we talked about this yesterday. You voted for the crime bill that Hillary's getting a lot of flack for, that put a lot of black people in jail.
Yeah.
And you had reasons for that.
Look, what happens, and this is what makes a congressman's life difficult. You got a big piece of legislation, some terrible stuff in it, some good stuff in it. In that bill was a ban on military-style assault weapons, okay, which I think is positive. In that bill was legislation for violence against women. It's an issue that I've been dealing with a whole lot, domestic violence, right? Want to protect women. In that bill, there was some very bad stuff. But read what I said about the bad elements. You know, sometimes you vote for a bill, there's good and there's bad. I was very conscious of the negative parts about that, and where Hillary Clinton and I also have a difference of opinion. 1996, there was a so-called welfare reform bill. You familiar with that? And that was a bill which really targeted the poorest people in this country, often African American. And the theory was, the problem with America, say the Republicans, is all these poor people, often African Americans, ripping off the welfare system.
Just sitting around not working and
You
getting
got it.
welfare.
And welfare queen. That's that whole crap, okay? I voted strongly against it. I knew it was scapegoating the most vulnerable people. You know where we are today? Extreme poverty. Extreme. The poorest of the poor has since doubled. A lot of desperation among the poorest people. I voted against that bill. Secretary Clinton strongly supported it.
What were the positives of you compromising yourself for that bill, for the 94 bill?
Which bill we talk? Welfare?
Not the crime bill. Because in your words, you said you compromised.
Well, sometimes you got a bill which has good things in it.
Okay.
Do we think we should protect women against domestic violence? I think we do. On the other hand, you had this draconian effort of 3 strikes and you're out, all this stuff, which ended up with having more people in jail. But where we are right now, in terms of criminal justice, number one, I mean, there's a lot has to be done. I don't know how much time we have. We have to hold police officers accountable. All right, if some police officer breaks the law, you know what? That officer has got to be held accountable.
Absolutely.
We have to demilitarize local police departments You know, you look at Ferguson, you mentioned Ferguson, what does that look like? It looks like you're in Iraq with an invading army, does it not?
Right.
That's not, I was a former mayor. You don't have police departments that are terrorizing people, or frightening people, or oppressing people. Thirdly, you gotta make police departments look like the constituencies they are serving, the diversity of a community. If it's Latino, you have Latino cops. Black, you have black cops there. That's what you try to do. Fourth, there's a whole lot of stuff. You have to make sure that we do not have minimal sentencing, all right? So you get arrested, and a judge has no discretion but to put you in jail for 5 years. Can't look at the certain conditions around that. That has got to be dealt with. We got to look at this whole issue of lethal force. In my own state of Vermont, and elsewhere all over this country, you have mentally ill people, you know, acting crazy. They shouldn't be shot. We got to figure out a way to apprehend those people. I believe there should be federal investigations, Department of Justice, if somebody is killed during the apprehension process or in custody. So those are some of the criminal justice.
Now you mentioned the drug laws. Now the drug laws are so sturdy. I mean, you could get more time for selling drugs or possessing drugs than actually killing somebody.
Yeah.
Smaller amounts.
And that's mostly African American and minority community.
Absolutely. No, that's what I've said. You got to rethink from A to Z the criminal justice, the drug laws, which have really wrecked a whole lot of lives.
A lot of lives.
A lot of lives. And that is why. I mean, as a nation, I start off with this point. How does it happen that we have more people in jail than China, which is a communist authoritarian country? Clearly something is wrong. And then the other point that I make, which people do not pick up on, argue with me if you want. Do you know what real unemployment is for high school graduates in this country?
Over 50%, right?
That's right. All right. If you're a white kid, graduated high school, 33%, unemployed or underemployed. Latino, 36%, African American, 51%.
Wow.
Now argue with me, but if you're one of those kids, leaves high school, you want to get your life together, you want to become an adult, you don't have any work, what are you going to do? You may do some things to get you in trouble, right? Mm-hmm. So what we are saying is we are going to invest in education and jobs for those kids. Mm-hmm. So if a kid is hanging out on a street corner, I want that kid working. We can create a job for that kid rather than being in jail.
So, job, you talk about the money that you're going to create. Is this going to go directly to the black community?
Yeah,
jobs and money directly to the black community.
We are spending $80 billion a year. That's a lot of money, locking up people. Mm-hmm. You take a fraction of that money. You know how many jobs you can create? I work with Congressman John Conyers of Detroit to put money into jobs and education. Kids stay in school. We're going to help you, get you the mentoring you need. We're going to get you a job. But you're not going to be floundering out there, getting into trouble and ending up in jail.
Well,
I think that's a good investment for America.
President Obama started the My Brother's Keeper initiative also. Do you have some initiatives that once you get there right away you plan on? This is one of the first things.
Yeah, this is, look, too many lives are being destroyed. And here's, by the way, ironically, you know, we got a real right-wing Republican Party, but even some of the conservatives understand that you spend that $80 billion a year. You know, it's cheaper to send a kid to the University of South Carolina than send them to jail. I mean, that's the kind of thinking I think that we should be undertaking.
Well, people say that, you know, the things you want to implement is going to cost like $18 trillion to do.
Don't believe everything you hear. Right, but here is the point that we have to deal with. I believe that, in fact, public colleges and universities should be tuition free. I came from a family, didn't have any money, my parents never went to college. If a kid is smart and has the ability, yeah, I think that kid should have the right to go to college. How are we going to pay for that? We're going to pay for it through a tax on Wall Street speculation. All right? When Wall Street's greed and illegal behavior destroyed this economy, what did Congress do? They bailed them out.
Right.
Well, you know what? I think it's Wall Street's turn to help the middle class and working class of this country. Number two, I think we can create 13 million jobs by rebuilding our crumbling infrastructure. I pay for that by doing away with corporate tax loopholes. You got large corporations putting their profits in the Cayman Islands. Do you know how much some of these major corporations pay in taxes in a year? Zero.
Nothing.
Right.
All right, we're going to have them pay taxes. That's how I pay for this.
Is it going to be a 90% sales tax?
No. You're not telling me you're believing Donald Trump, right?
No, but I've heard people in this sitting here right now who make a good amount of money say, well, I love Bernie Sanders, but the only problem I have is that he's going to raise taxes and that affects our tax bracket.
If you are in the very wealthiest people in this country, yes.
So the 1%?
Yes.
Basically.
Yes.
Now, question, you walked with African Americans from early, from Martin Luther King, and even to Killer Mike. Now, what gives you that vision? Not to
Don't get no black. Don't get no blacker than Killer Mike.
Now, what gives you that vision of targeting African American and targeting the youth? Because most people don't. They leave
It's
us
not a
out.
question of targeting. I mean, to me, it is a question of justice. It's a question of justice. I was there. Because I date myself when I say this. It's like for you guys, it's like ancient history, right? I was there in 1963 for the March on Washington. The March on Washington. It was called the March for Jobs and Freedom. Hundreds of thousands of people there. It was a very inspiring day, an extraordinary day with one of the great heroes and great leaders in American history, Dr. King. And before that, when I was at the University of Chicago, I got arrested in terms of segregated schools in Chicago. Look, this is what I've been doing in my life. I believe in justice, and it's not just the African American community, it's poor people, it's people who are being oppressed. We are the wealthiest country in the history of the world. Why do we have 35% of African American children living in poverty? You tell me. Why do we have massive income and wealth inequality? Do you think it's appropriate that the 20 wealthiest people in this country own more wealth than the bottom 150 million people? Right? In my state, all over this country, people are working longer and longer hours, right? People work 2 or 3 jobs, you know that.
We know.
58% of all new income goes to the top 1%. That's not what the American economy should be about. So what I'm saying here is we got to fight to create an economy that works for working families, not the 1%. We got to take on institutional racism. We got to take on a broken criminal justice system. We have to, by the way, also do things. You know, people criticizing me being so radical. The United States of America is the only major country on earth that doesn't guarantee health care to all people. I live 50 miles away from the Canadian border.
Right.
It ain't a big deal. Germany does it. The UK does it. Everybody. Why can't we do it? Why can't we do it? The Affordable Care Act, President Obama done a good job. I work with him. We've made progress.
Right.
But we have more to do.
Do you think your support of black people will hurt you with white America?
No, I don't. I don't. And I'll tell you something that I've been, Mike has been there with me at some of these rallies, and I think we should be very encouraged by. I see a lot of kids coming out, mostly white kids. And you know what? They are very anti-racist. They want to see a new America. And they're tired, their idealism is such that they're saying, sorry, we just are sick and tired of what we're seeing on television. We can do a lot better as a country. So the answer to your question is no.
I want to ask you if you're a communist like the New York Post. The New York Post called you a communist.
Or a socialist.
Well,
Well, no, they said
Democratic.
he's not a socialist, they said he's a communist. Because they said you supported Russia when Russia wanted to bomb the U.S.
Jesus God. Is that really what they're saying?
Yeah, it's an article about it.
All right, what can I tell you? Of course the answer is no. I mean, a lot of crazy stuff gets thrown around at campaign. This is what I did do when I was mayor. I helped establish what we call a sister city program, that's where you have one city working with another city in what was then the old Soviet Union. So I think it is a good idea for people of different countries to get to know each other. And I went there. Doesn't make me a communist. Of course I'm not a communist.
Georgia did that too. And we were sister cities. Atlanta was sister cities with St. Petersburg, I believe.
That's right.
So that's pretty common. We did that around the Olympics. For people out there listening, it's not very uncommon for cities to do sisters.
It's a great thing to do. You get to know people in other communities.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Well, we appreciate you joining us.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for the time, Killer Mike.
It's never enough time.
No.
The Breakfast Club. Every weekday morning. Tune in